Hello, welcome to Ray-ality TV. I'm Raymond Bakari, and today I'm joined by Iasha Hall, who is running in the Providence City Council Ward 15 special election to fill the vacancy after then Council President Sabina Matos was selected to be Lieutenant Governor. Ms. Hall, how are you today?
I'm fine, Ray, and thanks for having me.
No problem. It's a pleasure of mine to have you on the show. And just diving right into it here, what made you want to run in the City Council Ward 15 special election, and why are you the best to represent the ward?
Well, I've been in Olneyville, Silver Lake area since 2009. I've been on the grounds in the community, working hard. I've been a resource in the community. I've been providing to the community, and I also helped the councilwoman in a lot of her elections. So that also put me in the midst of the community. But I learned that I was outside the box, where I was reaching places that they weren't reaching, everyday issues, trash. And when I became a part of that, it was like I'm a part of the community. So I feel like I'm the best candidate because not only have I had hands on, my feet have paved the grave. So I'm just looking for the challenge because I know it is a big challenge with the Olneyville, Silver Lake Valley area, but I'm willing to take the challenge because I've already been walking the walk.
And speaking of challenges, the special election is going to be a competitive one. The winner will end up serving out the rest of Lieutenant Governor Matos' final term. However, there is still going to be an election for that seat in the 2022 election, since this is originally just to finish off that term. There's about 4 other people running in the election, I believe: Santos Javier, Oscar Vargas, Doris de los Santos, and Cassandra Inez. If you don't end up winning the special election on June 8th for the seat, well, the primary, are there plans to run for the seat again in the 2022 election cycle? And shifting now to the issues facing the ward, what have been some of the issues you've heard from residents here in Ward 15, and what are some of them that you plan to highlight in the campaign?
Dirty streets, trash, and crime. Those two I would like to highlight first, because I believe if we got safe and healthy streets, it'll also help our mental state. So I want to tackle that so we can kind of reset our minds back.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the streets and the sidewalks, because now looking at some of those issues, the roads and sidewalks aren't in the best of shape right now, or even clean in some cases. Like you had mentioned, the sidewalks are cracked. You see things like mattresses left on sidewalks and etc. Are there any more plans to specifically tackle that issue, and if elected to the city council, and how would you address it?
I'm going to also include the businesses and residents. A few years ago, one neighborhood builders, we had street neighborhood cleanups, and I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to bring the block captains back because that gave us a level of responsibility to monitor our blocks. So that's going to be part of the neighborhood watch and crime watch initiatives that I want to bring back.
And you had mentioned crime in the answer, and not that question, but the one before that. You had mentioned crime as another issue, and that plays into another topic I want to focus on, because another issue in the city is the push to defund the police, which has mixed reactions for a number of reasons. Where do you stand on if Providence should defund the police or not?
Well, I'm not for defund the police as to abolish them. I'm for allowing the police to come back into the community and work in the community, because they are a part of the community. And I believe it's a better relationship. I worked with a lot of the lieutenants and captains, and to me, the best relationship is to have a relationship. So if we have a relationship with the police, then my son will come home one day. But if we don't have it, we'll continue having this fight. But no, I'm not for defunding. I'm for refinancing in a way to restore.
And when you mean refinancing, because that is a common point that you hear, some have talked about shifting funds to more social workers responding to issues, if it's something like a mental health crisis or a drug addiction crisis. So just hypothetically speaking, if elected to the city council and there was a vote to remove money from the police budget, can you assure that you would vote against that?
To remove depending on where the money is going to be allocated.
Would like social services be one of those?
Social services always, I always look at what's first before we take the harshest of the punishment. So if we can go through the social workers or caseworkers or even community leaders that also have a relationship with students and parents, let's go to the lower level before we have to bring in the police. I think the police should be like they were supposed to be to protect us. I think other lower levels, like again, social workers, caseworkers, we all can do some of the help that is not more violent than violent crimes that we have to handle.
And just my last follow-up on while we're still on the topic of the police, and this was a point that was mentioned from one of the other candidates, Santos Javier, that he had said that the police department is underfunded, and that around the summertime, which is coming up, crime gets to the highest in the city. Are there any concerns that if we did take any money away, that crime could go up?
I'm not even, you know what? I think a lot of the crime issues is not the police fault. I think the crime issues is that we don't have enough for the adults, no jobs, enough jobs. The youth don't have enough recreation. The youth don't have enough employment. We have too many idle minds, and people are just sitting around basically just watching video games, and they're taking the video games to the streets. So if we give the kids something more positive, more structured to do, trades, let's get them back into welding, let's get them back to carpentries, and let's do it outside of the school and put it in the community to where it's more social engagement. The kids are feeling more, I think they would feel more accepted in the community when they're doing things. They feel more proud of themselves. So I believe the mom and pops will the stores will play a great part in that, letting these kids start working in these little stores, meeting the neighbors, sweeping outside for storefronts, also packing bags, helping just to keep them off the streets. So we have to find ways to keep the children off the streets because they are our future, and also we need jobs.
And now shifting the focus to education, recently there's been more of a push against things like charter schools and school choice in Providence, where a lot of Providence politicians don't seem to be in favor of the expansion of charter schools and are arguing things like the state takeover or hurting like the state takeover of the public school system should end. Are you in favor of or opposed to things like the expansion of charter schools and school choice, and why or why not?
I believe in the charter schools because I believe parents have a right to choose where their kids get educated. And that's just is really point blank. I don't think no one can dictate where you educate your child. That's your child. And I think it should be options, charter schools, public schools, perhaps whatever. It should be options out there. And again, that's a parent's choice.
And while still focusing on the topic, do you think the state takeover should still be in place?
As of right now, I think that should be as of right now, because as you can see, the city didn't do what they were supposed to do for us to even be in this position. So if the state has to take over to revamp, then let's revamp and revise some things, because again, we lost the school system. How do you lose a school system?
And now shifting away from the issues for a moment, the composition of the council leadership is different, with now the council president being Council President John Igliozzi and Pedro Espinal being the president pro tempore. Are you in favor of council members Igliozzi and Espinal being in those leadership positions?
Yeah, I have no comment. I'm not coming in to choose sides or say who should be where. I worked with Council President Igliozzi years go back, so I would never discredit his leadership. I don't know much about Pedro Espinal, so I can't even speak on his leadership. So to play fair game, they just blessed to be there. They were chosen by their peers. There's nothing Iasha can say about that one.
And while looking at the current landscape of our city leaders taking a step away from the council, the mayoral election won't have an incumbent this year since Mayor Jorge Elorza is term limited. There are a few candidates who have already thrown in their hats in the race, like City Councilwoman Yerva LaFortune, Gonzalo Cuervo, and Brett Smiley. And that's without looking at potential other candidates who can end up stepping in, like Councilman David Salvatore or even Council President Igliozzi, who are both term limited, as well as State Representatives Grace Diaz and Ray Hall. Out of all the current / speculated candidates who either are or could run for mayor in 2022, is there anybody currently that you would personally support?
At this time, no, but I'm gonna say that that's a great lineup.
And since there are a lot of things to focus on in the city right now, these next couple questions I'm going to do in kind of a rapid fire lightning round format. We're gonna just go through them kind of short. They're shorter questions with yes or no, opposed or in favor of answers. First one: are you in favor of or opposed to Providence's status as a sanctuary city?
Does that have to be a yes or no?
Well,
undecided.
that's That's a
No.
fair answer. No? Okay. A lot of critics also show their concern, especially given how it's gone around the country in other sanctuary cities. For example, San Francisco, California, a sanctuary city, saw Kate Steinle get shot and killed by an undocumented immigrant who had been deported multiple times in the past and was being protected by that city's sanctuary status. If something similar were to happen in Providence, should the sanctuary city status be reconsidered or further actions be taken?
I think we should reconsider.
And this is more of a statewide issue, but also could affect Providence because the revenue from it could be used for certain things that the mayor is looking towards using it for. Should marijuana be legalized in Rhode Island?
Oof. Well, I'll put it this way. It's medical. They turn it to recreation. If that's, yeah.
So with certain regulations?
I'm sorry, say that again?
With certain regulations?
Yeah, with certain regulations, I think so. Again, it's medical. Some people use it. I can't knock that. If doctors is prescribing it, who am I to say?
And lastly, for this lightning round / rapid fire portion, this kind of plays into that previous question because one of the ideas that Mayor Elorza is thinking towards implementing is a guaranteed basic income program for residents. Should Providence commit to a guaranteed basic income program for residents?
No.
No? Okay. And my final question is one that I ask everyone on the show here to take a step away from the political questions and keep tradition. And that is, in your opinion, what do you think Rhode Island is best known for?
I would say their seafood. Yeah, I would say the seafood.
That's definitely one of the main answers I get a lot, and that's why I love asking this question because you always get a different answer. Definitely squid is one of them, and the beaches are beautiful, quahogs, everything that fits the whole model of the ocean state. Ms.
Did you
Hall,
know about the quahog story, right?
no, I'm not familiar with the story.
About the raining fish in the 1900s in Olneyville?
Oh, I never heard about that.
Jocelyn, huh?
I haven't heard about that. What's that story about?
1900s. Google it. The 1900s, there was some raining fish in Olneyville. Some fell on Harris and some fell right over next street where I'm at on Jocelyn. Really,
Nice.
Google it. Yes.
I'll definitely take a look at that after this interview. I actually had no clue about that. That's really interesting. And that's
Yes.
my neighborhood. So I find that interesting little factoid about history with the quahog origins to be very interesting. Ms. Hall, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure of mine to have you on.
Ray, I thank you. And please tell the voters to please come out and support me on June 8th and vote for me, Iasha Hall, Providence City Council, Ward 15.
And thank you once again for watching this episode of Ray-ality TV. If you want to see future episodes as soon as they're posted on this channel, please click the subscribe button down below, along with the post notification bell icon to the right of it. I'm Raymond Bakari. I'll see you on the next episode.